You know, being outside like this, I think about, back in the day, in the Old Testament, we read about how the people of Israel, were wandering in the desert and how God provided for them. And one of the things that He provided for them was manna. And they knew it as, or they called it bread from heaven. And it was how God was showing them at that time that He was their provider, that He was going to watch over them and guard them and keep them. And then when Jesus showed up on the earth, He said, "I am the bread of life." And so when people heard Jesus say this, they thought to themselves, well, what kind of bread are you going to provide for us? Are you going to, is the bread you're going to provide for us, greater than or better than the bread that Moses provided for us in the desert? And I want to read to you the passage here where Jesus describes Himself and how He responds to this. And it's in John chapter 6, verse 32 and to 35. He says, Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, it is not Moses who has given you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is the bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." "Sir," they said, "from now on give us this bread." And then Jesus declared, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." You see, they were thinking that it was a materialistic bread, a bread of sustenance that was going to, feed their stomachs. But Jesus was talking about a spiritual substance that would help them to never be hungry and never be thirsty. You see, the truth is that we're all spiritually hungry, and Jesus is that bread of life. We're all familiar with a prayer that maybe you've heard many times, and in the Bible it's called the Lord's Prayer. But in that prayer, Jesus said to pray that God, our Father, would give us our daily bread. And I want you to think about that for a second, because Jesus says He is the bread of life. And then He says that He will provide you daily bread when you ask Him. But you know what I think sometimes happens to us? Is sometimes we're trying to take on too much and we become overwhelmed. You see, Jesus said that He would give us our daily bread. That means that He would give us enough grace and enough strength every single day. But sometimes we become overwhelmed by life because we are sometimes carrying the regret of yesterday, the pain of yesterday, and we bring it to today. And sometimes we're thinking about the unknown future of tomorrow, and we bring it to today, and it becomes too much. See, God said, "I've given you enough grace, enough strength for one day at a time." And so let me encourage you, my friends, don't fight tomorrow's battles today. God has given you and has promised to provide for you enough grace, enough strength for today. He says to you right now, "I am the bread of life."